It's September of 1982. An alien, a boxer, and a censored dolly partner in the movies. With TV and the reruns, let's go ahead and take a look at Saturday morning cartoons. And in music, well, I apologize in advance for that. You'll see what I mean when I get there. Hit the subscribe button and the like button. Don't forget the bell and get ready. This Week in the 80s starts now. How great was the movie selection in September of 1982? The re-release of Star Wars, Star Trek Part 2, and Poltergeist were all outside of the top 10 of the top grossing movies for this week. Let's take a look at what we have, starting at number 10. At number 10 on the list, we had Annie. Paramount and Columbia Pictures got in a bidding war over the right to turn it into the big screen production, taking it off the stage in Broadway. It ended up being $9.5 million just for the right to produce it. When they did, they added Carol Burnett and Albert Finney and tried to make it a really big deal. They released it wide, it didn't do so well. How bad was it? Roger Ebert loved it. That should tell you all you need to know about that. At number 9, we have Tron. Tron is an old school CGI movie. There's only about 15 to 20 minutes of actual CGI in it, but they took a different approach than the guys from Star Wars. Instead of using the mini models, they went the computer route. It's pretty obvious by today's standards. This starred Jeff Bridges as Flynn. This is one of Jeff Bridges' best performances as far as I'm concerned, because you can actually hear what he's saying. Oftentimes he sounds like he's got a mouthful of rocks. Tron was supposed to come out at Christmas time. That doesn't make it a Christmas movie. They decided to release Tron in July instead because they wanted to compete with The Secret of NIMH. That didn't turn out to be their best idea. They ended up competing with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, E.T., Poltergeist, and Blade Runner. At number 8, we've got Rocky III. Clubber Lang is probably my favorite bad guy in all the Rocky movies. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Drago or Apollo or Thunder Lips or Tommy Gunn. We'll forget about that. Mr. T wasn't their first choice to play Clubber Lang. First, they wanted Joe Frazier, but he apparently had a stuttering problem. They also wanted Ernie Shavers. Ernie Shavers has a really high voice. They felt that would take away from the acting and who Clubber Lang was supposed to be. Imagine Clubber Lang with a really high voice. They found Mr. T on an early 80s variety show that was hosted by Brian Gumbel called Games People Play. It was the world's toughest bouncer. Sylvester Stallone was all sorts of jacked up for this one. In the original Rocky and Rocky II, he wasn't fat, but he wasn't chiseled. In Rocky III, he shows up and he's basically chiseled from stone. You would be too if all you ate each day was 10 egg whites, a piece of toast, and a piece of fruit every third day. At 7, we have the Beastmaster. I watched The Beastmaster this morning, and I can tell you this, it's just as bad as I thought it was going to be, which is why I love it. Absolutely find this if you haven't seen it already. It is terrible, which is awesome. It cost them $9 million to make it, and they made $14 million at the box office, so it ended up losing them a bunch of money when all was said and done. They cut a bunch of corners to make it happen. There's supposed to be a Black Panther that follows our hero around, but Black Panthers are notoriously difficult to deal with. Instead, they used a tiger, when tigers are apparently easier to handle. They still wanted the Black Panther motif though, so they painted the tiger black. At number 6, we have The World According to Garp. This is absolutely one of my favorite Robin Williams movies, one of my favorite Robin Williams roles. The reason I say that is because he's not forced into overacting. He doesn't have to be over the top on this one. He gets to just be Robin Williams delivering lines and being really funny. Of course, any Robin Williams movies from the 80s and 90s is worth seeing. If you haven't seen The World According to Garp and want to see a good movie, this is definitely one of them. It's a little bit of a tearjerker, but it's really incredibly funny. And there's the one scene in the car with the guy and the girl. You're gonna have to watch the movie to find out what I'm talking about. If you know that scene I'm talking about, let me know in the comments. If you don't know that scene I'm talking about, watch the movie and then let me know in the comments. John Lithgow and Glenn Close were both nominated for supporting roles at the Academy Awards. At number 5, we've got Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. Part 3 in 3D. How could you not want to see this? A lot of people did. This ended up going all the way to number 1. Imagine a campy horror flick like Friday the 13th at the top of the list. It wasn't that good, but it was super fun. Friday the 13th Part 3 is the first time Jason puts on that hockey mask. It cost him $2 million to make, and it raked in $36 million. Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. If they release this next week in the theaters, I'm absolutely going. On Rotten Tomatoes, It has got an approval rating of 7%. If critics and reviewers hated it that much, but slasher film fans made it the 9th highest grossing slasher film of all time, it's absolutely worth seeing. At number 4, we have The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Dolly Parton as a madam running a cat house. That doesn't seem reasonable. A lot of people went to see it though. It ended up grossing, no joke, $69 million. The name of the movie by itself was obscene in many states. They had to change it around. Sometimes they called it The Best Little Cat House in Texas. In some places, they called it The Best Little Chicken House in Texas. Hello. I don't know, what do you want to do tonight? Want to go to the Best Little Chicken House in Texas? Let's do it. At number 3, we've got Fast Times at Ridgemont High. One of the best parts of this movie, no, not that best part, a different best part. Sadly, most of the songs didn't make it into the soundtrack. The cars moving in stereo. Yep, that song, that scene, stay focused. Tom Petty's American Girl, We Got the Beat by the Go-Go's, all of those didn't make it onto the soundtrack. They still ended up releasing a double album soundtrack, but there was only one song that was really a hit. It was Jackson Browne's Somebody's Baby. Talk about that in the music section in a little while. Stick around for that. Fast Times had 2 movie debuts. Nicolas Cage, who was a co-worker of Brad's at the restaurant, he's listed as Nicholas Coppola. And also Eric Stoltz, who appears as one of Spicoli's stoner buddies. Nancy Wilson was already a music star, performing on stage around the world in the band Heart. But she made her movie debut here as the cute blonde in the car that laughs at Brad. At the time of filming this, she was the girlfriend of Cameron Crowe, the director. She was later his wife. After that, she was his ex-wife. She's still in the movie though. At number 2, we've got An Officer and a Gentleman. Richard Gere, Deborah Winger, and Lou Gossett Jr. I'm a big Lou Gossett Jr. fan, by the way. Everybody should be, right? Lou Gossett Jr. won the Best Supporting Actor role in this for his role as the gunny, the drill sergeant. Richard Gere wasn't the first choice for the starring role in this movie. They actually signed on John Denver to do it. How would that have gone? They also offered it to John Travolta. He turned it down. The soundtrack had a big hit, Up Where We Belong with Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warnes. More on that a little bit later. At number 1, we've got E.T. At the time, it was the highest grossing film ever, knocking Star Wars off of that perch. E.T.'s voice was performed by Pat Welsh. She was a former radio actress. Smoking 2 packs a day allowed her to get the voice that they were looking for E.T. Pat Welsh did all of her recording in one day, 9.5 hours. They gave her $380 for it. Not bad for 9.5 hours, but when you compare that to the almost $800 million they made on it, it seems a little light. They re-released E.T. after 20 years, and they had to modernize it to make it mirror the softer world. In one scene, the FBI guys are coming to get E.T. at the house, and they replaced their guns with walkie-talkies. E.T. fans and movie fans flipped out about it. How dare they this and that? Look, who cares? If they got guns, they got walkie-talkies. It's still, the movie is exactly the same. Everybody needs to just settle down. As a kid in the early 80s, one of the greatest things that ever existed was Saturday morning cartoons. That was such a part of my life when I was a little boy. I didn't know the days of the week, but there was one day I did know, and that was Cartoon Day. I looked forward to it almost every day of the week. I can actually remember asking my parents, is today Cartoon Day? Is today Cartoon Day? Let's take a look at what was on television in September of 1982 on one of those cartoon days. ABC started our day with Super Friends. They kept changing it around. First it was Super Friends, 2 words, then it was Challenge of the Super Friends, then it was the World's Greatest Super Friends. This version in 1982 was Best of the Super Friends. It was all reruns. We didn't care. I basically just waited on every episode to see what the Wonder Twins were going to turn into. Form of a fat cat. Form of a glass of water. After that came the Pac-Man, Little Rascals, Richie Rich show. It was a 90-minute show. They gave 30 minutes to each. Pac-Man and Little Rascals, those were fun. The Richie Rich show, I never liked that kid. He seemed like a weasel. There's no way I'm alone in this one. If you didn't like the Richie Rich show, tell me in the comments also. If I'm wrong and you love the Richie Rich show, go ahead and admit it too. Up next, the Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, Fonzie Hour. The coolest thing about this cartoon was that they actually had all of the original cast members. You had Robin Williams, Pam Dauber, Henry Winkler, and Penny Marshall all doing the voices of their cartoon characters. Cindy Williams, who played Shirley, wasn't involved at all. She had left the show earlier in the year due to pregnancy. Up next, the Scooby and Scrappy-Doo Puppy Hour. Scooby rules. Scrappy-Doo, There aren't many cartoon characters I dislike more than Scrappy-Doo. That dude drove me crazy. The first half hour was Scooby and Scrappy. The second half hour was the puppy's new adventures. Real forgettable story. One of the cool things about that one, though, Nancy McKeon did the voice of one of the dogs. That's Joe Poltergeist from Facts of Life. NBC started our day with the Flintstone Funnies. It's a bunch of prepackaged stuff, lots of misadventures from Bedrock. They had a bunch of shorts that they threw together and made it a half-hour show. Following the Flintstone Funnies was Shirt Tales. Originally, it was a Hallmark card line. They got Hanna-Barbera involved and said, let's make it into a cartoon. It's amazing how much of this stuff that we watched as kids was just advertising. It never stopped. We didn't care. In the second season, the Kip Kangaroo character was voiced by Nancy Cartwright. You know her now as the voice of Bart Simpson. Up next was the Smurfs. I can remember the first time I saw the Smurfs. Man, I was rooting for Gargamel to catch those guys. They seemed like they were pests. I thought they were the bad guys, and Gargamel and Azrael were the good guys. The same thing happened to me when I first saw the Dukes of Hazzard, by the way. I was rooting for Roscoe to catch those guys in that orange car. I thought they were the bad guys. After the Smurfs was the Gary Coleman Show. Gary Coleman doing the voice of a little boy who's an angel who's coming down to help kids with their problems. That's weird. I don't remember that one. Up next, the Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man Show. Another fun Saturday morning superhero show. The narration was done by Stan Lee. Let's flip the channel over to CBS and see what they have for us. CBS started our day with Speed Buggy. Hanna-Barbera produced it, and Mel Blanc did the voice of Speedy. Watching Speed Buggy is one of my first memories of watching cartoons, or really anything as a kid. It was Speed Buggy and then Wheelie and the Choppers, and I love both of them. Up next was Sylvester, Tweety, Daffy, and Speedy. It was just a mishmash of great cartoons. Daffy Duck, Sylvester the Cat, Speedy Gonzales, and Tweety Bird all jammed into a half hour of fun. Same style cartoons, let's keep it going. It's the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. 30 minutes of Bugs Bunny, 30 minutes of the Roadrunner. I don't know if you could really spend a half hour watching the Roadrunner kick Wile E. Coyote's butt. Of course you can. If you didn't change the channel, now you're watching Gilligan's Planet. Every one of the original cast members was on the show doing the voices of their cartoon counterparts, except Tina Louise. For some reason, Ginger wanted nothing to do with Gilligan's Island after the show ended. Not a problem. Dawn Wells did the voice for both Marianne and Ginger. Marianne, by the way. Marianne all day long. A couple of one-hit wonders. One-season wonders? One-season wonders. Ended the cartoon day on CBS. First, we had Pandemonium, when Chesty, Timothy, and Algernon all united to form the one Papa Panda. They had superpowers. It was one of the last cartoons to have the built-in laugh track. Last on our list, and actually least, was Meatballs and Spaghetti. I have no recollection of this one at all. I was probably off doing chores, or maybe I had flipped to UHF to watch wrestling. It was a cartoon musical in which the lead singer, Meatballs, who was a fat guy, and the guitarist, Spaghetti, who was a skinny woman, toured around the country in their van singing songs. Like, that doesn't sound like a very good cartoon. It was a little bit different than others because they did have an original song in each episode. The only problem was the original songs weren't very good. No matter how bad it was, though, it was Saturday morning watching cartoons. That's fine with me. Here we go with music. I mentioned earlier at the beginning that there was kind of a problem with the music section. Here's the problem. This music isn't very good. There are some really good songs here. There are some great songs. But for 40 songs on the chart, so many of these are either forgettable or soft, or they just don't belong. A lot of it's carried over from the 70s, and a lot of it's just really soft. And there's nothing wrong with soft rock, but that's what the adult contemporary list is for. You know, old people, not like us. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. I'm gonna get started. At number 40, it's Love or Let Me Be Lonely by Paul Davis. It's a cover song. Originally, it was released by the Friends of Distinction in 1970. It spent 2 weeks at number 40, and then it was gone. Paul Davis isn't a one-hit wonder, though. Earlier in 1982, he reached number 7 with 65 Love Affair. 39 gives us one of my favorite 80s songs, Gloria by Laura Branigan. This is also a cover song. It was originally released in 1979 by Umberto Tozzi. The first version of this song was a love song, with Umberto professing his love for Gloria. That wasn't going to work so well with Laura Branigan. They tried switching the story around, and instead of it being Gloria, it was Mario, but that didn't work either. They rewrote it, made it about the life of the self-centered woman instead, and ended up running it all the way up to number 12. At 38, we've got Ray Parker Jr., Let Me Go. Behind Ghostbusters and The Other Woman, it was Ray Parker Jr.'s third highest charting song on the R&B charts. Number 38 was as high as it would go on this chart. At 37, it's A Flock of Seagulls with I Ran. You can put it on a list with Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Relax, Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen, and maybe Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley for pure 80s magic. If somebody said, I've never heard any 80s music before, can you play some for me? This song has to be on the list. Originally, I Ran didn't have that echoing guitar part. After they finished writing it, they got a new guitar player and they had to include him, so they threw that in later. At 36, Marshall Crenshaw, Someday, Someway. After years of playing John Lennon and Beatlemania, Marshall Crenshaw decided to release his own album. There was a lot of fanfare with this one. He was even on Letterman playing it. 36 was the best it could do. At 35, we've got Randy Meisner, Never Been in Love. This is a leftover from the 70s. It's just a slow, cheesy ballad. It sounds like it was written by some heartbroken teenager. 34, Frank Zappa, Valley Girl. The music for Valley Girl is fantastic. The chorus will get stuck in your head too because, it's Valley Girl, she's a Valley Girl, Valley Girl, she's a Valley Girl. For the verses of Valley Girl, it's Moon Unit Zappa giving us all that foolish Val speak. Awful. Just absolutely awful. It's a 4-minute and 51-second song. I turned it off at 2 minutes and 35 seconds. No more. I never want to hear that song again, ever. 33, Gary U.S. Bonds with Out of Work. The style of this song, along with the saxophone, might sound familiar, make you think of somebody else. That might be because it was written by Bruce Springsteen. It peaked at number 21. Gary U.S. Bonds' real name is Gary Anderson. He added the U.S. Bonds part to make radio DJs think it's a public service announcement, hopefully to get more airtime. It didn't work. 31, Joan Jett, Do You Want to Touch Me? Oh Yeah. This song flat out rocks. There's one problem with it though. It's written by Gary Glitter. That creep show is in jail somewhere else, and every time anybody plays his music, he gets paid. So you're never going to hear this one on commercial radio or in any movies or anything like that. A flat-out rock song by Joan Jett is at 32, and at 31 we've got Michael Murphy with What's Forever For. I don't know what this one's doing here. It's the opposite of what we want on the radio. It's a super soft country song. It ended up being number 1 in the country charts, so maybe it just belongs over there, but somehow it bled over here. If you can even believe this, it's another cover song. Songwriters must have been taking a long siesta in the early 80s. At number 30, we've got Santana with Hold On. Each week I create a playlist for the show. If you don't know Hold On by Santana, make sure you give it a listen. Tell me the very beginning of it doesn't make you think about Ride Like the Wind by Christopher Cross. At this point, you're gonna think I'm making stuff up, but no joke. This is a cover song as well. It was originally recorded by Canadian pop star Ian Thomas. His brother's Dave Thomas of Strange Brew fame. 29, we've got Toto with Rosanna. Despite what a lot of people said, this song wasn't written about Rosanna Arquette. She was around the studio at the time. She was dating the keyboard player. Toto's an interesting band. It's mostly made up of a bunch of studio musicians. They put some good songs out though. This one, Africa, Hold the Line, Toto's alright. 28, Michael McDonald, I Keep Forgetting. The former doobie went on his own, and this is what he came up with. Who's that backing band with him? Most of the guys from Toto. At 27, we got Jermaine Jackson with Let Me Tickle Your Fancy. Off the album, Let Me Tickle Your Fancy. This is a bad song. This song is awful. They've got Devo helping out on the chorus. That's how bad it is. There's a lot of hand clapping, weird sound effects, and a really weird delivery on the chorus. It's in the playlist. You got to find it. At 26, we've got the first top 40 hit for William Albert Michael Broad. Who? Billy Idol. Now, it's Billy Idol, I-D-O-L. He really wanted it to be Billy Idol, I-D-L-E, but people thought he was going to get confused with Eric Idle from Monty Python, so we went with I-D-O-L instead. Hot in the City is the song. It went all the way up to number 23. When Billy Idol left Generation X, he put out a 5-song EP and then his first actual album entitled Billy Idol. It gave us this song and also another one you might know, White Wedding. Number 25, Kim Wilde, Kids in America. Marty Wilde is a musician. He's hanging out in the studio and his sister is providing some backup vocals. One of the producers noticed the good-looking backup vocal singer. Wanted to find out more about it, wanted to find out if she had any talent. Marty Wilde ran home, wrote a song for her, they came back the next day and recorded it. That one part that we always sing along with in the car, the whoa, That was supposed to be taken out and filled in instead with a guitar riff or a bass riff or maybe a drum fill. They decided they liked it and left it in there. At 24, it's Jackson Browne with Somebody's Baby. It's basically the only hit to come off of the Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack. It ended up being Jackson Browne's last top 10 hit, all the way up to number 7. 23, Elton John, Blue Eyes. It's a piano song written in the key of B flat. You have to picture yourself driving down the expressway with your friends. You've got hit radio on. It's cranked up pretty loud. You're digging it, you're singing at the top of your lungs, and all of a sudden, a piano song in the key of B flat comes on. How does this happen? Blue Eyes by Elton John does not stand out for any reason, unless of course you're one of the Grammy voters. It was nominated for Best Vocal Pop Performance, lost to Lionel Richie's Truly. I'd love to tell you that things are about to get better, but they're not. At number 22, it's Jennifer Holliday with And I'm Telling You I'm Not Going. It's not that Jennifer Holliday is a bad singer. She's an amazing singer, Broadway trained with a voice to stop traffic. But how does this end up on the top 100? 22, Asia, Only Time Will Tell. Phil Collins' I Don't Care Anymore has some pretty brutal lyrics. Only Time Will Tell by Asia matches it in just severity. Now, sure as the sun will cross the sky, this lie is over, lost, like the tears that used to tide me over. It ends up being the second top 10 hit for Asia. Heat of the Moment was out a little bit earlier this year. This being 1982, not right now. At 20, it's America with You Can Do Magic, folk rock at its best. The backing band? You guessed it, it's the guys from Toto. 19, The Motels, Only the Lonely. They had 2 hits, Only the Lonely, and Suddenly Last Summer. Both of them reached number 9 on the charts. Interesting thing about the Motels, they used to share studio space with the Go-Go's. 18, REO Speedwagon. All right, REO Speedwagon, this chart's been really bad. Give us something good. REO Speedwagon, Keep the Fire Burning. No, Keep the Fire Burning is so bad. When they came out with a greatest hits album, they didn't even include it. It's a top 10 song and they're like, nope, we're not even gonna acknowledge the fact that that exists. 17, Eddie Money, I Think I'm in Love. Now that's a great song. Eddie Money rocked. It was Eddie's first hit in many years, put him back on the radar in the music scene. The video's really fun. Eddie's a vampire. Check it out in the playlist. 16, The Pointer Sisters, American Music. As forgettable of a song as you'll ever hear. It's certainly no He's So Shy. Come on, Pointer Sisters. 15, finally, a great song. Men at Work, Who Can It Be Now? They released it in Australia. It did well. So they released it in Canada. It did well. They released it in the US. It also did well. Right up to number 1. Right now it's at 15. The first record I ever owned, like personally me, like this one belongs to me, was Men at Work, Business as Usual. At 14, we have Alan Parsons Projects with Eye in the Sky. I always wondered why the guys in the band let it be named the Alan Parsons Project. Like, who's Alan Parsons anyway? Well, he was an assistant engineer on the Beatles' Abbey Road and Let It Be. Oh, and also he engineered Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. I guess he's got a little bit of chops. Eye in the Sky was their only popular song. 13. Kenny Rogers' Lovable, Turn You Around. I know you've been waiting for this one to come up. Everybody loves this song, right? It did hit number 1 on the adult contemporary charts, which means old people like them, not us. It's a country song from his movie Six Pack. Country song from a NASCAR movie. Can't imagine why I didn't love this one when I was 9. At 12, we've got Donna Summer, Love Is in Control, Finger on the Trigger. I forgot all about this song for probably the majority of my life. As soon as I read the finger on the trigger part, I knew exactly what it was. I could hear the chorus, the computer voices. I was 9. It's not like I took a lot out of the lyrics, but I remember singing along to it. It's a fun song. Love Is in Control was Donna Summer's 16th top 40 hit. At 12, we've got John Cougar, Jack and Diane. Jack and Diane is the second hit off of the American Fool album. The first one, Hurt So Good, is coming up a little bit later. Jack and Diane went all the way up to number 1 on the charts. I'm gonna go on record right here and tell you this. That whole line about sucking on chili dogs at the Tasty Freeze makes me really uncomfortable and I never sing it. All right, it's the top 10. The top 10 has to be good music, right? At 10, we've got Paul McCartney with Take It Away. Quick, think right now. Do you know the song Take It Away by Paul McCartney? Do you know the chorus? Do you know all the... I didn't either. This song is as forgettable as a bunch of the other ones I've already covered on this list. But the video is really fun. You got to find it in the playlist. It's got Ringo Starr on the drums and John Hurt on the guitar. Linda McCartney also makes an appearance. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Crosby, Stills and Nash, Wasted on the Way. It's their first top 10 hit in 5 years. If you're a fan of Crosby, Stills, and Nash, you probably really like this song. All 3 of them are singing, 2 of them are playing the guitar. It's a folk song, there's no drums, there's no bass. Roll a fatty and sing it, I guess. Number 8, the Go-Go's with Vacation. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but it's a cover song. A band called the Textones did it first. The bassist for the Go-Go's was in that band, and she brought the song along with her. Probably the coolest thing about the song Vacation by the Go-Go's is that it was produced by IRS as the first cassette single. Kids from the 70s all had their 45s, and that was cool. Kids in the 80s had ca-singles. IRS Records trademarked ca-singles. This was the first one. At 7, we've got John Cougar again. I mentioned it before, Hurt So Good. It's the first release from the American Fool album. 16 weeks in the top 10. For those of you who are counting, 4, 8, 12, 16, that's 4 months in the top 10. It's the most of any song in the entire 80s decade. Number 6, Melissa Manchester with You Should Hear How He Talks About You. Melissa Manchester didn't like this song. She was a ballad singer. She didn't want to do this upbeat new wave stuff. She liked it a little bit more after she won the Grammy for Best Female Pop Performance, besting nominated performances by Olivia Newton-John, Laura Branigan, Linda Ronstadt, and Juice Newton. So then it was okay. The video I have on the playlist is from her performance on Solid Gold. You gotta see it. It's awesome. Marilyn McCoo and Barry Gibb introduce her. At number 5, it's Air Supply. Even the Nights Are Better. Why has this happened? Number 4, Hold Me by Fleetwood Mac. America loved this song. The UK didn't. Here it is at its peak at number 4 on the USA Hot 100. In the UK, it didn't even crack the chart. What's up with that, England? It's a good song. When they were making the video, they weren't getting along so well. Everyone was annoyed with everybody else. Typical stupid band stuff, I guess. When you watch it, there's never a time when more than 2 of them are on screen at the same time. The video is pretty cool, but there's not enough Stevie Nicks in it. Everybody knows everything is better with more Stevie Nicks. At number 3, we've got Chicago, Hard to Say I'm Sorry. It's on the Chicago album, but there's not much of Chicago in it. Peter Cetera is singing. Danny Seraphine's on the drum. The rest of the instruments, you guessed it, once again, most of the guys from Toto. At number 2, it's a song that rocks. You have to go all the way back to the 30s for that Joan Jett tune to find another tune on this list that rocks. Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. Awesome song. Crank it up and sing along every time it's on. I don't think I've ever met a person who likes 80s music who doesn't love Eye of the Tiger. Sylvester Stallone originally wanted to use Another One Bites the Dust from Queen. Queen said no, so Sylvester had to come up with a new plan. He had heard this song from Survivor called Poor Man's Son, and he loved it and he wanted them. Rocky III was in post-production at the time. Stallone gets the number and calls up Frankie Sullivan, Survivor's guitar player. Stallone leaves a message on Frankie Sullivan's answering machine. Frankie calls him back. Stallone tells him what he wants, ships him out the movie. They write the song. It's a deal. They didn't have a lot of time to produce the song Eye of the Tiger. So when you're watching Rocky III, you're actually hearing the demo version. At number 1, we've got Steve Miller's Abracadabra. It's his 3rd number 1 hit. Rockin' Me and The Joker were his other number 1 hits. Capitol Records didn't think that it was a very good song, and they didn't want to release it in the US. Steve Miller had a different distributor for Europe, so he sent the record to them, and they released it, and it blew up. It hadn't even been released in the US, and Europe is singing along to Abracadabra. So Steve Miller cancels his US tour and schedules a European tour. Capitol Records says, well, but we want, yeah, but hey, Steve, and they release it in the US, and it goes right to the top. There's supposed to be a Black Panther who follows Ved? I forget the guy's name. At number 3 on the list, now we're on number 8. It ended up being $9 million. $9 million. John Lithgow and Glenn Cole. Up next, the Mork and Mindy. Up next. Good God! So you had Pam Dauber and Robin Williams and Henry Winkler and who the hell played Laverne? Penny Marshall. So you had Robin Williams, Pam Dauber, Henry Winkler. I can't remember her name. Penny Marshall. Cindy Williams, however, was not involved. That's Shirley for the... Nope, that's Laverne. Nope, that's Shirley. So here's the thing with music in August, it's September. 36 was the best it could go. It could go. It ended up being Jackson Browne's last Tom Tam Tim. Ting-a-ling-a-ding. It ended up being Jackson Browne's last. It's the last one. I'm not gonna take this abuse much longer. They used to stare at the sun to make themselves blind. Such as Alinda Ronstadt, and Olivia Newton-John, and Juice Newton, and Laura Branigan. The rest of the instrument wanted to the blah blah blah. That was a fun trip back to 1982. Make sure you click that and subscribe to the channel. Then click that and watch the next show. I'll see you soon.